Let's go to Canberra now and catch up with Peter Jennings from Strategic Analysis Australia with some big issues unfolding and some travel arrangements when it comes to global affairs. Donald Trump in the Middle East. We'll come to that in a moment, Peter. But first up, your thoughts about our own Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. He's been in Perth the last couple of hours. He's heading off to Jakarta. Is that wise? Indonesia's a good place to go, isn't it, for his first overseas visit as the re-elected Prime Minister?
Yes, I wouldn't argue with that, Chris. I think it does make sense, and we've long wanted to build a closer relationship with Indonesia, but failed to do so. I don't think we're going to get much more than a very surface relationship between Prabowo and Anthony Albanese. I find it quite remarkable that, not that many years ago, Prabowo was banned from travelling to the United States because, as a general in the Indonesian military, he'd been involved in, I believe the phrase is, alleged human rights abuses in Papua and East Timor. The Americans backed down on that after he became Defence Minister. But as President, Prabowo has tried to change his personality. There's been lots of TikTok videos of him dancing, presenting himself as a cute grandfather. That's the phrase that's used. So maybe Albanese will have that much in common with him, that they now want to look like their sort of cuddly elder statesman. But don't expect that there's going to be much substance.
The cute grandfather and the handsome boy. Hey, what a meeting! Tell me, do you expect we'll get any more clarity out of this visit when it comes to Russia's defence overtures for permanent basing of aircraft in Indonesia?
Well, there's quite a lot of clarity that's already there, because we know from what's on the public record that Russia is interested in cooperating with Indonesia to build a satellite launch facility at Biak. Attention was sort of distracted in Australia away from that during the election campaign. I do hope that Albanese raises with Prabowo Australian concerns, because if we have a Russian satellite launch facility, there'll be Russian weapons there to protect the facility. Once you've got something that can launch satellites, you can also put warheads on that technology as well. So this is a strategic game changer, and we should be concerned about it more than we are. And it's certainly something that Albanese should raise with Prabowo, even if that's something that just happens in private.
Yeah, we may never know about it, but let's hope that happens in pretty strong terms. Let's go to Donald Trump in Saudi Arabia. He announced a lot of investment deals, a lot of cross-investment arrangements with Saudi Arabia. That's not surprising, but he's also agreed to lift all sanctions against the Syrian regime. Here's Donald Trump.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. The sanctions were brutal and crippling and served as an important function, nevertheless, at the time. But now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off.
What's going on here, Peter? Is this the US trying to encourage a disengagement of Syria from Iran's reign of influence?
Yes, I find this a very surprising decision, because we have to remember that the new Syrian leader who ousted President Assad has a background of being an Islamist extremist, jihadist. But I guess the American judgment is that they can encourage a movement perhaps towards a more open society where growth and investment will take place, and we can pry the Syrians away from the remnants of a Russian military presence. So it may be worth trying, but I hope that the Americans go into this with a significant degree of caution, because we just don't know what the new regime is really going to look like. Yeah. And they've certainly been cases of very ugly violence meted out against the old regime, which no one can approve of. And so, they're still on trial, I think, as far as I'm concerned.
We've got to talk about Qatar's gift to America of a new Air Force One. Here's what Donald Trump said to defend accepting this gift. This is while he's sitting in the old Air Force One, talking to Sean Hannity.
The plane that you're on right now is almost 40 years old. It's much smaller. It's much less impressive as it is. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't accept gifts for the country. My attitude is, why wouldn't I accept the gift?
Peter, won't Qatar want something in exchange for such a lavish gift? And could you completely debug this control? Would it be completely beyond the remit that Qatar would have some sort of tracking or listening devices in this?
So, Chris, do you know, I think it just might be the case that the Qataris do want something from the United States, and they've found a way of dealing with President Trump, which is to offer him some really flashy, shiny gold things. One can only imagine what the interior of a presidential Air Force One looks like when it's designed to Qatari royal family standards.
Yeah.
Look, I think this is demeaning. I don't think Trump should have accepted it. He comes from a country which produces these aircraft, and he can have one of his own. In fact, there are several being constructed for him now. And yes, on your point, yeah, could you trust that this thing wouldn't be bugged in some way that would be very hard to find? Of course not. You really would have to be worried about that.
Yeah, leave it behind. Thanks for the offer, but perhaps they could do something for poorer nations would be my advice. Thanks for joining us, Peter. I appreciate it.